Today, we will open your perspective about an old issue that have been going around for decades, but most people still do not realize how dangerous it is. Climate has changed throughout the history. Most of the climate change are attributed to very small variation in Earth's orbit that change the amount of solar energy our planet receives. The current warming trend is of particular significance because most of it is extremely likely to be a result of human activity since mid 20th century and proceeding at a rate unprecedented that is unprecedented over decades to millennia. Let's hear the explanation about climate change from the expert.
The main cause of the current global warming trend is human expansion of the greenhouse effect. Warming that results when the atmosphere traps heat radiating from Earth toward space. Gases that contribute to greenhouse effect include water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, and CFCs. Human activists are changing the natural greenhouse. Over the last century, the burning of fossil fuels like coal and oil has increased the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide. To a lesser extent, the clearing of land for agriculture, industry, and other human activities has increased concentration of greenhouse gases. There are more than 95% probability that human has activities over the past 50 years have warmed our planet. Global climate change has already had observable effect on the environment. Future effect change will continue throughout this century and beyond, like temperatures will continue to rise.
Now, why climate change is dangerous? These activists will break it down for you.
Global climate change has already had observable effects on the environment. Coral reefs are dying, forests are crumbling, Arctic animals such as polar bears are losing the ice that they call home. We, too, feel the effects. Climate change threatens our agriculture, health, water supply, infrastructure, and more. No part of this world is immune. This global response occurred with just 1 degree Celsius increase in temperature. But we will see at least an increasing of up to 2 until 3 degrees Celsius over the next 50 to 100 years unless the greenhouse gas emissions are rapidly cut. All of this spells big trouble for humans because there is no evidence that the disruptions are occurring in the resources that we rely on.
But unfortunately, some people are still skeptical about climate change. Here is the explanation.
The climate change deniers come in many forms. Some, including the President of the United States, Donald Trump, argue that the whole thing is a hoax posted by the Paris figures. He even went to the extent of withdrawing from the Paris Agreement. Others will concede a degree of warming, but it's simply just a global cycle that cannot be altered. Some acknowledge that man-made emissions may have contributed towards the warming, but it is not enough to justify trying to counter the impact. What all of these denial theories have in common, however, is a dismissive attitude towards the effect of the global warming, if the effects even exist in the skeptic's mind. But here's what you should know. 97% of the climate scientists all around the world have come into agreement that human is the cause of the global warming. But a depressingly large number of Americans were still unaware of the strength of this scientific consensus. still choosing to believe that there is still controversy or uncertainty behind the global warming. The people who deny the climate change are the people who have big influence on the society. There's more people believe in the same thing. And it means big problem for us. This problem is so deep that because it runs the risk of us to prevent the climate change. The people who deny the climate change are the people who have big influence on the society. There's more people believe in the same thing, and it means big problem for us. The problem is so big because it runs the risk of preventing us from taking adequate measures to protect our environment. Right now, we live in a world of alternative facts. We have the luxury or the naivety to call the news that we don't like fake, but the situation persists. Climate change does not care if you believe in it or not. Neither does science. Your political beliefs are not inadequate measures to filter the fact. These things exist. These things are irrefutable. We have the technology to make an impact and improve our environment for the better. We just need the will to stop denying the problem, preferably before the worst occurs. This is the time where we could use more science and less politics.
So, how do we fix this global problem? Let's hear the ways from this famous environmentalist.
Climate change is a global problem felt on local scales that will be around for a century to come. Carbon dioxide lingers in the atmosphere for hundreds of years, and the planet takes a while to respond to warming. So even if we stop emitting all greenhouse gases today, global warming and climate change will continue to affect future generations. In this way, humanity is committed to some level of climate change. Because of that, responding to climate change involves a two-pronged approach. First, mitigation, which is reducing climate change by reducing the flow of heat-trapping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, either by reducing source of these gases, for example, the burning of fossil fuels for electricity, heat, or transport, or enhancing the sinks that accumulate and store these gases, such as the oceans, forests, and soil. Right now, there is this thing called the Paris Agreement that for the first time brings all nations into a common cause to undertake ambitious efforts to combat climate change and adapt to its effect. The Paris Agreement central aim is to keep a global temperature rise this century below 2 degrees Celsius. This is a very good thing for us. Now, how do we reduce greenhouse gases in daily life? By doing reduce, reuse, recycle, use less heat and AC, drive less, buy energy efficient product, save electricity, plant trees, and encourage others to converse. Second, adaptation. Adapting to life in a changing climate. The goal is to reduce our vulnerability to the harmful effects of climate change, like sea level enlargement, more intense extreme weather events, or food insecurity. As our climate change, we will have to learn to adapt. The faster the climate change, the harder it could be. In the absence of national or international climate policy direction, cities and local communities around the world have been focusing on solving their own climate problems. They are working to build flood defense, plan for heat waves and higher temperatures, install water permeable pavement to better deal with floods and improve water storage and use.
That is the explanation about climate change, the effect, and how to solve it. So we must take action right now to prevent future problems. This is our Earth. It is our responsibility to save it.